Hey everybody, welcome back to another video and Happy New Year, even though this video is probably going up mid-January. I hope you all had a lovely holiday season, even if you had to celebrate it a little differently this year. So, you guys, I am so excited. I just grew mushrooms for the first time. Also, if you clicked on this video thinking I'm talking about psychedelic mushrooms, I'm not, so sorry. So a while back I came across this advertisement, or maybe it was a TikTok video. It was for a company called Northern Spore, which sell grow kits for you to grow your own mushrooms. Mushrooms can be super complex to grow because you often need a lot of specific equipment to recreate an environment in which the mushrooms can grow in, which can be expensive and also take up a lot of space. But these kits are just little blocks that you cut a hole in the side and then mushrooms grow out of it. Originally I tried to find a Canadian company that made the same product, but for some reason I just couldn't find anything like that, and all the Google results I was getting were for distributors that sold the advanced stuff. So I not so subtly sent the link for Northern Spore to my fiance when he asked me what I wanted for Christmas. And Christmas came early. At the end of November, there was a package delivered to our apartment, and my fiance told me I either needed to open it right away or put it in the fridge. So I immediately got a little suspicious about what was inside. When I saw the package, I saw that it had come from Canada Post, so for a second I was like, oh, maybe he didn't get me a mushroom growing kit because Northern Spore is based out of Maine, so why would they use Canada Post? But to my surprise, there were not one, but two mushroom kits inside from a Canadian company called Grow Mushrooms Canada. I still don't know why their website didn't show up for me when I was originally looking for Canadian companies. So I got a king oyster mushroom kit and a blue oyster mushroom kit. Now, despite the name, blue oyster mushrooms are not actually blue, but when they first start growing, the caps have this bluish gray color to them, so that's where they get their name from. So if you're hoping to see some bright blue mushrooms in this video, again, sorry to disappoint you. So without further ado, let me take you on my journey growing mushrooms. Hi there. We're just gonna ignore the fact that I look like hot garbage. It's the weekend, I'm being lazy, I haven't showered in 3 days. But this isn't a beauty channel. We are here to grow some mushrooms. We have some king oysters, and we've got some blue oysters. So these are the humidity tents, which I'm going to be placing over top of these guys. I'm not 100% sure if they come with the kits. I think you might have to purchase them separately, but if not, they said on their website that you can use like any sort of plastic bag as long as you're able to prop it up into a cube shape. I have a spray bottle, which I'm going to be using to mist the inside of the humidity tent. I have this bowl of water, which is very full. They say that you should use unchlorinated water, and you can just do this by pouring some tap water into a bowl and letting it sit out for 24 hours, or you can boil it for 10 minutes and then let it cool. I was lazy and I just decided to wait the 24 hours. And then I just have a funnel to get the water into the spray bottle. And then I have 2 baking sheets, and this is just to catch any water that will fall down from the condensation in the humidity tent, just because you don't really want water going all over your counter. So I'm just going to pull up their website so I can double check to make sure I'm doing everything right in preparing these guys. So the first step is to choose an area of your house that is going to be getting a lot of bright indirect light. You don't want it to be in actual direct sunlight, and they also suggest that the temperature range should be between 10 to 20 degrees Celsius. Our apartment is typically at 22 degrees, so it's just a little higher than what I think these guys might be okay with, but it's not so high that I'm like super concerned about it, so I think they might be okay. Also, if you're wondering what these blocks are actually made out of, the white fuzzy stuff is mycelium, which is the actual mushroom spores, and everything else is just a mixture of sawdust and wheat bran. And I'm thinking that's to kind of mimic either growing on a log or near a tree, because that's the type of environment that oyster mushrooms are typically found in. And it says here that we're gonna get 2 flushes, or essentially 2 harvests worth of mushrooms, so that's super exciting. So I've chosen my kitchen island mainly just because it has a lot of space. It's not super in the light, but it is right in front of our living room, which does get quite a bit of indirect light. So first, I'm just going to pour the water into my spray bottle. Okay, who wants to bet that I'm gonna spill this all over the place? Oh god. Oh! So now I'm just gonna set up the trays. You go here. There you go. And So these kits have slightly different preparation methods. This one, as you might have seen, has a lot of excess plastic on the top, and that's just because king oyster mushrooms will grow up like this versus these guys will kind of be like a cluster that sprouts out. So the first thing it says to do for this guy is to just cut a little flap about 3 centimeters. Yeah, 3 centimeters down, just to kind of get the air exchange going. And then I guess in about a week to 10 days, when you start seeing the little mushrooms forming, you can cut the rest of the bag so that it's maybe about this much plastic left on it. And this guy, we're gonna be cutting an X in the back, and that's where the mushrooms are gonna grow out of. So these guys are gonna be growing out of the side, and these guys are gonna be growing out of the top. So with some scissors, cut a small slit near the top of the bag to increase the air exchange. Okay, so I was full on ready to just cut the entire top off, but you just need to do a little slit so that there's a bit of air exchange. This is why you read instructions. So it says about 3 centimeters. I'm just using my little measuring tape to kind of measure about 3 centimeters down. Let's see how far in I need to go. Nope, it just says a small slit. Okay, so I guess. Yeah, I think that's fine. Maybe I need to like prop this open. I think we're good. It's propped open. You can get some air in there. I feel like I might just cut it a tiny bit more. Yeah, I think that should be good. And now we're gonna cut an X in this one. So for this guy, we're gonna be cutting an X shape that is about 10 centimeters in either direction. And it's gonna create these little triangular flaps, which will allow the mushrooms to come out. So I'm gonna put it on its side. I know it's not the best angle for you guys to see what I'm doing, but for me to cut it, it's a lot easier for me to do it this way rather than trying to do it at that angle. I really want to get this right. I really want to grow mushrooms. So I think I'll do it from the center of the bag. That looks about center, I think. I'm sorry if my cutting is making any of you freak out. Okay, here we go, here we go. Whew, that really smells like sawdust. So this is what it looks like. You can probably see it a bit more because I kind of did a little bit of the knife tip into the actual block, but yeah, we have these little flaps now, and this is where the mushrooms are gonna come out. So now we need to put the humidity tents on. You know, they have a video on this. I'm gonna watch this.
A few moments later.
Aha! So now I need to roll it so it's not as tall. It basically stands up on its own, so that's a good sign. And now just place it. I think we did it. And now we need to do the same for this one, but at least this one I don't have to roll it down as much since the top is a little taller. Okay, I think we're good. So the next thing we need to do is mist the inside of the tent, and it says to do this 2 to 4 times daily to really keep the humidity going inside. I think I might just take the bag off, spray it, and then re-put it on, because that seems like it's going to be the most effective way for it to coat the entire thing with water. I don't know how much water it needs, but I think that's a good amount. And here we go. Okay, less water came out of that one. That's good. And there we have it. Now all I need to do is continue misting 2 to 4 times a day, and within about a week we should hopefully see some pinheads on the king oyster mushrooms, and in about 2 weeks we will hopefully see some forming on the blue oyster mushrooms. I'll check in with you guys when there's something new to update you on, but other than that, just gotta keep on misting and keep on waiting. And in the meantime, I'm finally gonna go shower. So it's been a couple of days. It is now Thursday, December 3rd, so about 4 or 5 days after I initially started prepping these guys. So as you can see, there are 2 little cups of water inside the tent. Basically, they said that, you know, if you don't have the ability to mist all the time, you can leave a cup of water in there and it'll kind of help with the humidity. And I just figured because our apartment is pretty dry, even with the humidifier in our bedroom, every morning I wake up with like a super dry throat and I'm like, oh my god, I have COVID. But then I remember, no, my apartment is just really dry. So I figured I'd show you guys how I mist these every single day. So initially I started spraying inside these little holes just to kind of, you know, I guess I was afraid of letting the humidity out, but then I realized that that's not really a super effective way because like I can't coat the entire humidity tent. So instead what I just started doing was just removing the bags, just fix the shape a little, and then all I just do is spray the inside of the bag, give it a nice even coating, and then I just put this back. Oh my god. Okay, I was just about to put this back on, but I have mushrooms. They're growing. Holy shit. Oh my god. Okay, I need to show you guys. Okay, so fair warning, it does look a little gross, but here are the mushrooms. They kind of just look like some regular old gray mold, but those are all the little pinheads of the blue oyster mushrooms. Part of me is debating if I should cut the slit a little more because as you can see there are a bunch growing out of here. They seem to be growing in this top section, not so much the bottom section, so I'm hoping they can push themselves out of here. If I notice that maybe they're struggling a little bit, I am probably going to cut it, but I think I'm just gonna leave it for now. There hasn't been any progress on the king oyster mushrooms, and it's a little hard to tell compared to the blue oysters just because, you know, you do have all this extra bag going on up here. Basically what I'm seeing in here is it's just a layer of the mycelium, but it does look like there are a few sections that are starting to rise, so I'm hoping that maybe that's a sign that the king oyster mushrooms are going to start growing soon. So yeah, that's my mushroom update. I will check in with you guys in a few days and hopefully there's been a bit more progress. So it's Sunday, December 6th. I was away for a couple days visiting some family. I left on the Thursday night and I just got home. It's 8 o'clock now. And something crazy happened. The blue oyster mushrooms just exploded and part of me is like so happy that they've grown, but also part of me was like real sad that I got to miss the progress they made in the 3 days and that I didn't get to capture any of it for you guys to see. So hopefully I can do that with the second flush or the king oyster mushrooms, but I'm going to show you what the blue oyster mushrooms look like because it's insane how much they grew in 3 days. These are the blue oyster mushrooms. I'm speechless. Like, I just can't believe how much they just exploded over 3 days. Like, this is what they look like on Wednesday, and this is what they look like on Sunday. They are almost ready for harvest. I want to wait till they get a little bit bigger. This one is doing really well. It's a nice flat mushroom. They're also like really firm right now. I know usually these guys are typically a little softer when you harvest them, so I don't think they're ready. But yeah, I am so shocked that this is what happened while I was gone. I was a little bit worried about the humidity because obviously since I wasn't here, I wasn't able to mist it several times a day, but I did leave this cup of water, which used to be up at this line, so it did evaporate quite a bit, and obviously the humidity tent kind of kept everything in. I had also left my humidifier running while I was gone. It obviously ran out of water, but I had it positioned kind of right in front of the mushrooms so that they could get a little bit of additional humidity. But I'm just so blown away with how these guys have transformed. Also, I'm not sure how well it's picking up on camera, but you can definitely see a blue hue on these mushrooms. These are what they look like as they mature, so they definitely turn into more of a pinkish gray color, but when they are first starting to grow, they have this blue tint to them, and that's why these guys are called blue oyster mushrooms. There still hasn't been any progress on the king oyster mushrooms. The mycelium at the top is growing like crazy, like there's a huge white fluffy layer. I think I'm going to cut this off because it said once you start seeing little pinheads to cut this down to about 2 to 4 centimeters. And even though I don't necessarily see any pinheads, I am seeing a lot of growth. So I think I might go ahead and just do that real quick. So this is what it looks like. The mycelium has grown quite a bit since I first got it. It's a lot more thicker now, and I don't know how well you can see, but there are definitely a few parts where there are some bumps forming, and I'm thinking those are going to be the mushroom heads. I'm really hoping that I didn't just completely mess this up by cutting the top off, but we're gonna see what happens. It is Wednesday, December 9th, and I'm definitely going to be harvesting these guys today because, as you can see, there is quite a difference in the way that they look. Typically, you want to harvest them when the caps are still folded outwards, and as you can see, they've started folding inwards. Also, there are a ton of mushroom spores forming, and this is also a sign that they need to be harvested because, as with most plants, they start producing seeds at the end of their lifespan. I'm gonna have to dust these guys off because, not that they're bad to eat or anything, but I don't know, I feel like I shouldn't eat them. Also, I'm sure as you guys have noticed, there has been this white substance on the bottom of the baking tray, and when I just touched it, it kind of felt like I was touching cornstarch. Like, it's a very weird, smooth consistency. I thought it was from the water mist just dropping and, I don't know, maybe calcifying or something. But in fact, these are the mushroom spores that have fallen to the ground. I was reading online just now that when you see this happening, it is definitely time to harvest your mushrooms. So to harvest your mushrooms, you can pluck them off individually, or you can just cut off the entire head, which is what I think I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna be using a simple paring knife to do so because it's a fairly small blade, so I'll be able to get in there more precisely, and it's sharp enough to get the job done. These kits produce 2 flushes of mushrooms, and according to the website, you can do 2 things. Once you've harvested your mushrooms, you can either continue letting them grow out of the hole that you had cut, or you can tape it off and then create a new X somewhere else on the bag. I'm guessing maybe on the side because they're supposed to grow out of the side. I don't think they'll do too well on the top. I'm not 100% sure which one I'm gonna do yet, but let's just cut the mushrooms. Okay, so I'm guessing I just... Ooh, they're squeaky. Oh gosh. Ooh. Okay, so here's our first group of mushrooms. I seriously can't believe how quickly these grew. Oh my god. And how big they grew. Like, oh my goodness, look at this. Like, this is literally bigger than my hand. That's insane. And here we have it, the blue oyster mushrooms. So now it's been about a month and a half since I got my growing kits, and sadly the king oyster mushrooms still haven't grown anything. I really think I messed it up by cutting the top of the bag off too soon. I for sure thought I was seeing mushroom pinheads, hence why I did cut off the top of the bag, but unfortunately it resulted in the mycelium starting to disappear because there was too much airflow and not enough moisture being trapped inside the kit. So I ended up stapling the bag back together to hopefully trap the moisture in again, and thankfully a lot of the mycelium started coming back, but there are still a few dry patches which I'm a little concerned about. I'm hopefully going to do an update video for you guys, but as of right now, the king oysters still aren't doing anything. As for right now, I'm going to rehydrate my mushroom kit as per the instructions on Grow Mushrooms Canada's website. They say to submerge your kit in cold water for 2 to 4 hours because this is supposed to replicate a heavy rainfall, which in the wild will trigger mushrooms to start fruiting. There's still a ton of mycelium in my kit, so it means that my kit is still alive, it just needs a little extra TLC. On a more positive note, I just harvested my second flush of blue oyster mushrooms, and I think I'm potentially getting a third because I can see a bunch of little pinheads starting to form. As you can see here, I taped up the original side and cut a new X on the other side of the kit. You don't have to do this, you can totally get another flush of mushrooms from the original site, but I noticed that the mycelium on the other side of the kit was looking real thick, so I just wanted to see what would happen. And sure enough, I got more mushrooms, and I'm hoping I can potentially get another flush out of it. I was reading that sometimes the kits can produce up to 4 flushes of mushrooms, so keep your fingers crossed for me. Overall, this was such a fun experience. To be honest, growing mushrooms was something I never really considered because it always seemed like something super intimidating to me, but kits like these make it super easy and accessible for the average person to grow their own mushrooms. It's just so entertaining watching your mushrooms grow and seeing how quickly they can change. As I mentioned, I'll do an update video on my king oyster mushrooms in the future because I'm really hoping that rehydrating the kit is going to give it the kickstart it needs to actually start producing the mushrooms. In the meantime, can we just pray to the mushroom gods that it doesn't turn out to be a total fail? As for other content, I don't really know what to do right now because it's still winter, so I can't exactly do anything outside in my garden. I do plan to do a houseplant tour because I mentioned that like months ago and I still haven't done it. But other than that, if you guys have anything you want to see me do or talk about, please feel free to let me know down in the comments. Like and subscribe. I'll see you later. Bye!